In this video, you're going to get a little mad at me because we're going to talk about 10 things that I stopped buying simply because they're a complete waste of money. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Maoli Vodi with Financially Present, and I spent most of my career as a stockbroker, and I spend most of my time now helping people with their finances. From the federal level to the private level, I help people with their money. And if you're new here, welcome. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to this channel. And if you're not new here, thank you for supporting and thank you for coming back. Starting with number one, things to get free shipping. Look, this is just good marketing and it has so many of us in a chokehold. We live in this culture where if the shipping is free, then it feels like the purchase is just justified. And this is just, it's not the case. Anyone who has studied drop shipping or order fulfillment or simply just did enough research or comparison shopping can look at an item and know if shipping is really free or if the item was increased enough to cover the shipping cost anyway. I've seen it where someone is planning on buying something and let's say it costs $30, but they see something flash across the bottom of the screen and says, shipping is free, but only if your order is above $50. Gotcha now. That's exactly what it is. That one line alone has forced so many people to just add an extra item on their cart versus paying less with the shipping costs included. See, the psychology of this makes us feel like we're getting a deal when in actuality, we're just buying more than we need. It's similar to what they used to do in the early drop shipping days. And this is when they would say an item was free and you just only had to pay shipping. But if you really did some digging, you'd realize that they're listing the item as $0 and the shipping is listed at $8. That's because the actual cost of the item is $2 and true shipping costs were about $2 to $4. So you know that the seller is probably making $2 profit each and every time. It worked really, really well with low cost items, and we should all be hip to the game by now. I mean, research what you're buying and make sure you're not being manipulated by the pricing or the gimmicks or these add to cart features at the end of the checkout procedure. The next item will annoy some people, and that's designer clothes. Okay, it's okay to look good, but does the brand you buy give you the value you want? I mean, if you're trying to grow your wealth and your assets, designer clothes, they just don't help you do that. We aren't in high school anymore, so being a child is literally the shortest part of your life. If you are an adult, nobody should be clowning you if you're wearing something that's not name brand. There is this idea that celebrities and influencers that wear designer labels are actually paying for all of their stuff when they show up at events and award shows and sports events where there's high visibility. They're being sponsored, and one of those ways is the clothes that they wear. And it's so that consumers buy those exact same things. They're walking billboards. And if no one is paying you to wear designer stuff, if you aren't getting endorsed or they aren't gifting you these items as a brand partnership, you're the consumer and you're more than likely getting played because most of these brands are so expensive for no real reason at all. The next thing I stopped buying is overpriced tech gadgets and upgrades. Remember when drones were first available for regular consumers? They were so expensive. I mean, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And they had plenty of different drones out there, even ones where you can attach your cell phone and you can fly it around. The thought of that is just crazy because when the drone gets too far away, you could literally lose control and even destroy your phone. And I know that's happened to people before. But nowadays, you can literally get a drone for less than $50. With smartphones, that's a whole different situation because it's really not necessary to upgrade every year because if we're being honest, there are less and less improvements each time and it's nearly impossible to use all of the new features anyway. There are so many gadgets out there and video games. I mean, as much as I love video games, it doesn't make sense to buy all of them, not brand new at least. For example, they have emulator devices. I mean, look at this. For under $40, this thing right here literally has 13,000 games on it. When a few years ago, you needed to have every single video game console and controller and video game to have that. Now I have it all in one device. 15 years ago, I couldn't even think of this as a possibility, but now look at this. So I can take this with me on flights or go on a trip and I'm good. I mean, the point is, current technology will always get outpaced by future technology. So the more you spend on technology now, the more things that you own are going to become obsolete. I mean, we've seen this before with every piece of technology. I mean, take some time, wait and see if it's worth it to buy it now, and just make the smart decision about saving your money. The next item, warranties. Most of the times when you buy a warranty, it's just simply unnecessary. Several items are covered under the manufacturer's warranty initially. So that usually covers the first year and maybe even longer. And items, when they have an issue, they're going to have an issue within the first year, to be honest. If there's a defect, there's usually a widespread issue that possibly would trigger a recall. Warranties are basically a type of insurance policy that generally only cover mechanical or electrical failures. And when you consider how companies are insuring these products, they make money by not delivering on all of the claims. Okay, so yes, there are situations where they may cover a claim, but there's a long enough track record to show that certain things are just going to get denied. And there are plenty of tech items that I mentioned previously that if they have a warranty, the time where you would actually need it is usually by the time that you would want to replace the device anyway. So I'm not even going to get started on the amount of time that you spend on the phone with these claims departments. The point is, for most items, warranties just aren't really worth it. Save your money. Look, there are still companies that are willing to do right by the customer and exchange an item or give you a gift card or send a technician out there to check on something. But for clarification, I'm not talking about your phone's protection plan either. That's different, when your phone screen breaks or the device is stolen and you have something that insures that. That's completely different than the warranties that are usually upsells on an item, okay? Another thing I stopped buying was credit card interest payments. Yeah, I know. When you are borrowing on a credit card, that interest, it adds to the total amount you're borrowing anyway. So it makes your debt more and more expensive the longer you carry it. It simply means that you're earning money for someone else. I mean, you're giving money to somebody else. Just picture every time you borrow money on a credit card, you're sending your money away to someone else regularly. And I mean, you might say, hey, I'm getting points for this. I mean, I'm making money on my purchases because of the point system. And that's not really the case. Most people with a balance, and if you're only making minimum payments, your credit card has an annual fee, and any interest you're paying reduces the benefits that you would receive from the cash back or the rewards or the mileage. When you look closely at what you can actually get for these points, it's really just a fraction in benefits versus what you actually pay them for using the cards. It's like you're funneling all your transactions through someone else and paying them a commission for something you can technically do on your own. And if you reduce this or completely avoid it, just go for it, okay? The next thing, unused subscriptions. So there are gym memberships that are strategically priced to a point where most of their members don't show up. And that's because it's so low cost that they stay signed up. There's streaming subscriptions too, and there's meal services, there's audiobook services. When they're technically free through your library, sometimes you basically subscribe for something, and if it costs $9.99 a month, you think to yourself, hey, what's the big deal? It's just $10 a month. It's $10, it's nothing. And then there are some months when you use it and other months when you don't use it. And then some months go by and then you tell yourself, you probably should cancel it, but you forget. And this because it's $10 a month. And then you see that same charge month after month after month, and you think it's harmless, but it turns into this nagging pain. And it's one of those things that it bothers you, but not enough for you to get it checked out. And the problem with these types of unused subscriptions is that it makes it easier for other subscriptions to find their way into your monthly cost, when you probably could just sit down, spend 10, 20 minutes, call the right people, and just cancel the membership. Just stop letting those people slide away with your money. Speaking from experience, it's like when you start a new job and someone calls you by the wrong name or they mispronounce it and you let it slide, then they start talking to other people and they start telling them your name incorrectly. And before you know it, everyone's calling you the wrong name. If you let too many subscriptions slide, you'll be kicking yourself later. Now, the next thing might bother you, and that's because it's lottery tickets or scratch-offs. It's simply a tax on the poor. That's just what it is. I mean, people who buy it are people who want to win big and win fast. Wealthy people generally do not buy lottery tickets. The irony is that when you pay, or when you play and pay, you don't win. Normally 60% goes to the winner and the rest goes to the state. And they use it for tax purposes. I live in Virginia and they say that the money goes to schools. So if I wanted to play scratch offs, it would actually be more effective for me to just donate money to the schools directly. Just take a look at your state and see what the lottery or scratch off money actually goes towards. And in fact, there are some of us whose income is technically at the point where we wouldn't even have to pay much in taxes, but when you play these lotteries and scratch offs, it's almost guaranteed that you're just putting that money directly into someone else's pockets or towards taxes, basically. So if you want to give away money, you can easily just donate to a cause that you truly want to support and skip the middleman. The next thing I don't even bother with, and that's food delivery costs. So Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, if you're capable and able-bodied and you order through those services, you have to cut this cost. It's not really worth it. The amount that these delivery orders are marked up is pretty ridiculous in my opinion. And I know some of you might say, well, there's a monthly subscription cost that makes it cheaper. Well, I would still push back. You aren't getting the best deal because many times the food's marked up. You don't have access to the full menu as the usual restaurant or the actual restaurant itself. And then there are plenty of occasions where, due to other reasons, the order is either messed up or it doesn't make it to you simply because the driver screwed up. I've seen it where they delivered it on the wrong doorstep. Like, that delivery driver equation kind of changes things. So again, skip the middleman and the higher fees. The next thing I wouldn't buy is a brand new car. I don't think I'll ever recommend that to someone. New cars are cool, I'll give you that, but wouldn't you rather own a car after knowing for a fact that it's reliable? I mean, think of it from this perspective. Things just aren't made the way they used to make them. Materials are different. There's pressure to make these things much faster on an assembly line. So we tend to see cars with so many features, but we also see them with dozens and dozens of recalls. Maintenance issues, safety issues, things that make us think we actually need warranties, when honestly, the item itself just isn't as good as we need it to be. This is in addition to the fact that a new car depreciates after you drive it off the lot. In fact, when it comes to buying things brand new, I would recommend you let somebody else be the guinea pig. The first and last time I bought something on the release date was a phone, and it happened to be the Galaxy Note 7, one of the hottest phones at the time. And if you remember this phone, you might already be laughing because it was the hottest phone simply because it had a defect that caused the battery to overheat or even explode. Yes, explode. They recalled that phone so quickly, and everyone had to get a different phone. I mean, just imagine if you thought you were going to keep the phone, they even pushed out an update so that you couldn't even charge the phone. You were forced to return it and get a different one instead. It was such an inconvenience, but it all worked out. Just know that if you're buying things brand new, there are often times where they're tested, but not tested enough. So you can find yourself needing to return an item to the store, or you'll see that there are defects that haven't been fleshed out yet. And just make it easy for yourself and let the trendsetters get those things first and just get yours later. If it comes to a car, look for something that's certified used. They usually only have 2 or 3 years worth of use on them or mileage on them, and just plan to do normal maintenance. Usually these cars work out perfectly fine. Now, the last item you won't see me buying are collector's items. And I know people who collect shoes, purses, clothes, dolls, video games, stuffed animals, stamps, coins, all types of things. And that just doesn't really do it for me. I don't care if it's some exclusive bundle or collector's edition. No, I'll pass. I mean, if you've been with me long enough, you'll know that my favorite thing to collect is memories. I take a lot of pictures, thousands of pictures, and I have no problem paying for storage, but it's all digital. And you can probably argue that I have somewhat of a book collection, but not anything that would compare to anyone else as far as like a big library. I still know that there are some books I'll just go and grab from the library instead, or I'll just reread some of the books I currently have. But there are services where I know I can get an audio copy for free. Just most of the items that people are collecting sometimes are just a fad. And if you add another 10, 20 years, most people aren't going to be interested in these things. And I even think that collecting cars will go out of style at some point, but that's just me. So there you have it. I'd love to know, what are some of the things you refuse to buy? Go ahead and just let me know in the comments. It's all about knowing about what doesn't serve you. And sometimes it takes a few purchases to realize that, and other times you know right off the bat that it's not for you. Hopefully, creating that boundary helps you meet your financial goals. Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, stay present.